paddock, we have a male. His name is Porking with tusks. He's up here on the right, heading into the bush. But you know, coming up next, I asked the guy, what is the largest mammal on land? And he told me blue whale. That doesn't work for me. I'll settle for elephants any time of the day. And here we go with Patty and Maxine, our Asian elephants. They're coming up next.
Damn.
Patty and Maxine are each in their 40s, and they each weigh in at 10,000 pounds. They do eat a lot of vegetables, but they'll also eat about 200 pounds of hay each day and drink 60 gallons of water each. That trunk of theirs is an amazing tool. It's got over 40,000 muscles in it. With a finger-like feature at the end of the trunk that can pick up an egg without breaking it. Yet they can take that trunk of theirs and rip a small tree right out of the ground. Now they do get special treatment here at the zoo though. Twice a week they get special baths and pedicures. And they sweat through the bottoms of their feet, as well as send and receive subsonic vibrations through their feet that tell them whether a herd of animals is nearby or even miles away. An elephant can walk up to 30 miles a day just to graze. Now unfortunately we can't give them that kind of distance here. If we were able to do that, they could wear away their toenails naturally. But we do have to do those pedicures because we want to be sure they don't get ingrown toenails. Now in our next paddock here, we're looking for one of my personal favorites, the Indian rhinoceros. Now it doesn't look like she's on this side of the exhibit, so we'll move forward to the other side. Now there are less than 2,000 Indian rhinos left in India and Nepal. We're lucky enough to be caring for 7 of them here at the zoo. We're one of the luckiest zoos in the whole USA. We've had 10 successful births of rhinos here. Not an easy story though. You see, the female rhino is pregnant for 16 months, and at the end of that time gives birth to a bouncing 150-pound baby. That baby will stay with its mother for 2 to 3 years, although weaning can take anywhere from 12 to 16 months. Now, contrary to the popular belief, the skin of a rhino is not all that tough. It's actually very sensitive to sunburn and insect bites. They bathe their skin in mud to protect themselves, and do that in something that they actually created themselves that we call the wallows. The wallows are coming up after this downed tree. Created back in 1977, the same time as the Monorail was completed. With all the rhinos that went into making it, I think they got it the way they want it by now. Looking back at the wallows, and you can see Callie, one of our Indian rhinos. Callie weighs in at 3,500 pounds and can run at up to 30 miles per hour. As we get to see Callie and the wallows, I've got some information here about the rhino's horn.
The horn of a rhinoceros is very different from that of a goat or antelope. It is not attached to the skull. Rhino horn is made from compressed keratin fibers, the same material that is found in fingernails and hair. Although rhinos are a protected species, poaching still occurs. Rhinos are killed for their body parts, as some people believe that this horn has special medicinal powers. It is also used as an ingredient in some traditional Asian medicines, and the rhino horn is also prized in some cultures for making dagger handles.
Even a small rhino horn, a little bit larger than the size of a softball, is worth more than $10,000 on the Asian black market. But now it's time to look for some deer species, maybe even an antelope. Look into the field coming up here, the deer that are laying down in the grass there. That is the Formosan Sika deer from Taiwan. They were nearly wiped out in the early 1970s by overhunting and lack of wild land. But now we have one of the largest herds in the world here at the zoo, and their numbers are being replaced by national parks in Taiwan. The dark-colored deer at the second round fence, that is the sandbar deer, the largest deer in Southeast Asia. 5 feet at the shoulder and 650 pounds for the male. Males are solitary animals, but the females will hang out in groups of up to 4. More sandbar deer at the back fence there as we come about. And even more sandbar deer as we come up on the hill here by the side fence. Now you may have noticed in our exhibits before, but even in this one, Look at the trees here on the hill, and you see that a lot of them are wrapped in wire. Now what happens is, with the antlers and horns that are in this exhibit, they would normally scrape themselves against tree bark to clean them. Now enough scraping of bark, and they use the tree. Ah, here's some small deer right here that are fully grown, known as the hog deer. Short and squat like a hog is how they got their name. They run under things rather than leap over things like most deer would do. Meanwhile, back to the trees. With the wire on the tree, they can clean much more efficiently, and it saves the bark on the tree, a winning situation for everyone. Now there are two deer that are ahead of us right here. Now the first car, those little deer with their reddish-brown coats are fully grown muntjac deer from India. They're known for their tusks, and they actually fight with their teeth instead of their horns. Now as we come forward, I have to stop for a moment for a red light. While we do that, though, take a look here at China's tufted deer. At less than 40 pounds and being extremely shy, they love to hide, so we normally don't get to see them. They're not even allowed to be seen in zoos outside of mainland China. But the Bronx Zoo was declared an exception by the Chinese government. Now they have a white tail and rump that they use for deer communication. Flashing that white tail to indicate danger, or holding it up in the air so that a fawn can follow its mother in running flight. Another deer here as we keep coming across. Now when they really get upset, they'll bark like a dog and growl too. And they're the only monorail animal that stays outdoors year-round, even in the coldest winters and the warmest summers. The rest seem to be, according to their reputation, hiding very well. As we make this next turn, though, we're coming to the tallest point in our exhibit. Now we're going to be passing back over the Bronx River, but this time we'll be doing it at 35 feet above the water. The Wildlife Conservation Society knows how important it is to upkeep the greenway here at the Bronx River, not only for plants and animals, but for Bronx residents alike. And if you'd like to learn more about the Bronx River, you can always go to the Mitsubishi Riverwalk. It's located along the edge of parking area.
That's 35 feet high, right?
The rocky terrain that we're coming into next is great for wild goats, specifically the Himalayan tar.
See them?
They're well adapted to life on the mountain slopes and woodlands of the Himalayan mountains. And look ahead into the hill here between the rock sets in the back, and you'll see them along the hill. Their hooves have rubbery claws, which help their feet to grip the rocks, much like the sole of a mountain boot. Males and females both have horns. The horns are bent back and triangular in shape to prevent injury during headbutting battles in the mating season. So I get a headache just thinking about it. An adult tar can jump up to 10 feet in the air. And if they could jump that high, why didn't they name a New York basketball team after them anyway? The New York Tar. And just picture it. We're coming up on a large V-shaped tree. There's a leafy tree after it, and that's where I'm going to be looking for Walter, our red panda.
Oh, red panda.
He's on the ground right now as we come by. Over by the water bowl on the right. People are fascinated by the color of their fur, and in Nepal, the red panda is called Han-ho, which roughly translated means fire fox. We thought the red panda was related to the black and white giant panda of China. Turns out they're only related by diet. After all, the red panda does mean bamboo eater. The red panda was known for many years before we even knew the black and white giant panda existed. They're more closely related to skunks, raccoons, and weasels. So I guess you can't always pick your family. And I don't know how many of you have gotten to see the cartoon Kung Fu Panda, but if you did, the Sensei Shifu, he's a red panda. Now as we make this next turn, though, our journey is coming to an end. But before it does, we're going to make a first stop. And at that first stop, everyone, please stay in your seats. We want to be sure that the next train is completely left the platform so that we can pull on ahead in safety to the park. The Wildlife Conservation Society manages 5 parks here in New York City, and that's the Bronx Zoo, New York Aquarium, Central Park Zoo, Queens Zoo, front that marks
The end.